Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay here. We had a couple audio issues here that we seem to have gotten resolved at this point. But I want to welcome everybody to another edition of Talk About It Tuesday. And today I am being joined by a radical guy in his own mind, Mr. Phil Cardinale. So how are we doing today, Phil?
Oh, we're doing great. As you know, and you found out, I'm technically challenged. So I don't know what was causing the delay, but we got it fixed.
Yep.
Ready to go.
Yeah, it's, technology is amazing until it doesn't work. So, but the good thing is we can be in two completely different states and
Absolutely.
are able to get on here and talk about something we love more than anything, which is bowling. And it's an exciting time now for the Radical brand.
It really is.
We're here to talk about two amazing pieces that are going to be coming out in January,
right?
And that's going to be the Results Plus and the Bonus Pearl. So. I'll tell you what. Why don't we talk a little bit about the? Let's start with the Bonus Pearl first. We'll start with the symmetric in the line there, and I'll go over real quickly here for everyone out there, just kind of the technical aspects, and then Phil and I, allow Phil some time to just kind of talk about the ball in general, its intentions, and maybe answer some questions that could be out there. So, the bonus Pearl. Obviously, it's the next in line for the success of the original Bonus Solid, which was in a lot of players' bags. It's going to utilize that forged pearl. And you're going to see the same numbers as the original one with the strong cover in that 2.487 and lower differential 030 to give you, controlled piece with some traction. So, Phil, talk to us a little bit about kind of, where we're at with this line and the intention, where it's going to fit in.
Well, the Intel, which was my favorite ball of the whole line forever, is gone. Hated to see that go, but it was time to move on. And we have the counterattacks, the pearl and the solid. And the next step up is the pandemonium or the closer. So there was sort of a gap. So we filled that gap with the bonus solid. And what the better bowlers, and I'm not saying it's limited to better bowlers but sometimes the input we get, I don't always hear from the average guy on what he needs. A lot of times the average guy may not know what he needs, because he's overwhelmed with marketing. And at Radical, we try to help those guys out and sort of have a clearer picture, a clearer path for them to get their arsenal put together. But the tournament players and the league average bowlers that we talk to, the better bowlers, like a ball with a lower core performance aspect. In other words, they don't want a ball that's got a dominant core in it. They would rather have, and you're a bowler, so you know this, they would rather have a non-influential core in a ball and a stronger cover, and then they can manipulate it.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, it's something that I'm doing this 32 years. Every one of my companies in the past, Track, Dynathane, 900 Global, we had a ball in the line that had the cover strong enough where people could manipulate it. We hadn't done that with Radical yet. One of the reasons is, Mo's a big core guy, and does a lot of core designs and likes to use shapes, which is important and all. But we hadn't really never gotten down to that where you had a strong performance cover on a quote unquote nondescript type core. So we put the bonus in the line to fill that gap. Boy, did it do well! People just love it. It's people have been heralding it. That's probably one of the best symmetric balls on the market. Because you can do so much with it. So what's the next step? Obviously the next step is, well, can the bonus be too strong? For some people, it still can. So we went to the bonus pearl only because we knew the cover stock. We put the forged cover stock on the bonus. We knew the cover stock. It was a katana cover stock.
Yep.
And we know how clean the katana was and how flippy off the spot. Well, take that same performance and put it in the lower differential core like the bonus, you're going to get more length. So it's about 3 or 4 feet longer than the solid, and it's a little more sharper down lane. But everything we put in the line, we only do it to fill spots. I don't own a factory, so I don't have to build balls to feed the factory. I have to build balls to fill a line and create sales.
Right, which makes total sense. And I mean, as from the bowler side of it, I think it's a great addition. And that original bonus was unbelievable, versatile. Whether I'm seeing something with a puddle, or if I'm even bowling in league, getting it, with that strong of a cover, getting it to burn off. So it kind of, gives me the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
And then if I, from a ball down from that, I get a lot of play out of the solid version of the counter series.
Sure. Counter.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I'm looking forward to this one. The other thing I think excites me even more, whether you call it a marketing perspective or anything, but it's black. All right. I'm sorry, black balls. They roll better. I'm not one of them that are into the flashy colors because I get sick watching them go down the lane.
Sure.
And I'm excited to get this one, going down the lane and actually seeing this thing in action because the bonus has gotten so much play. And like you said, it's one of those things. Maybe it's used a little more by, some advanced players, but, we drove a lot of them in our area for players that were just looking for, they want to get a left a little bit, need a little more teeth, or somebody that may be a little rev challenged. They were amazing.
It's funny you say that. Let me just touch on a few things you mentioned. Number one is, we add to the line, obviously, the player, every one of all of the staff, the 7 brand staff, nearly everyone has a bonus in their bag. Yeah. Because of the spotted fills. So it's funny. My son just started bowling a couple of years ago. Literally picked up a ball maybe 2 years ago. He's about 180 average right now, which is pretty cool. 2 years, right? And I work with him a little bit. But what's funny is I drilled him a bonus. He loved it. I hadn't drilled him a bonus pro yet. But the bonus, last week he went 240 out of the box with the bonus. He gets lost a little bit after things start to happen. So he shoots 170. But the point is he likes the bonus because you know what it makes him do? It keeps him to go straight enough. And, he's looking to play the shim. I explained that part of the game to him. And the problem is with the counterattacks, he likes to go straight, obviously. With the counterattack, when he tugs it a little bit, he'll buck it.
Yeah.
With the bonus, he doesn't buck it.
Yeah.
And it bleeds off, like you said. So when he misses right, he's not leaving a washout, and it's not jumping to the face. So he'll flat 10 on more shots than not when he misses right because of his rev rate and his ball speed. But he does have that little bit of tug. So the lesser average bowlers are enjoying this ball because it puts them in the right spot on the lane. Years ago, and I'm an old school bowler, we used to use the oil line as hold and the dry as swing. And we wanted to create a board or two of hold and a board or two of swing, and you had the lane. But nowadays, the bowlers like yourself, you guys all want to use the oil to get the ball down the lane. You don't use it as hold. You use it as a launch pad to get it to the dry down the lane. Okay. And this ball is great for that. But I want the guys that can't do that to be able to use it as hit the shim and have the ball lay off enough where it still hits the pocket and strikes. But it's strong enough where it's not bucketing.
Right. And, it's funny you say that because, again, when I explain this to the customer or somebody off the street, we talk so much about nowadays where, the friction now is more in our hand, whereas in the past when I'm growing up, the friction was more in the lane. Correct. Right. So when you get a strong cover like this, easy selling point for that is exactly what you said about your son, which is, okay, well, if you get this in a little bit, this thing's still going to read the puddle. But if you get it to the dry quick, it's got that strong of a cover on the original that the ball still will lay off and, not overhook on you. So I think it's a critical talking point there. And, with the Pearl version now you're going to give another shape where you're going to have more response down lane a little quicker.
Exactly. And then that's the one you step down to off the solid. Maybe move a board or two to the left if you have to because the friction to the right got more. And you throw the Pearl and you got a little more length, but you got more pop down lane. Or, and I'll teach my son this week or next week when we get a chance to go to lanes, when he leaves a flat 10 with the solid, he can go to the Pearl and won't flat 10.
Right. And now is your son a southpaw like yourself, or is he
not? He's not. No, okay. He was a golfer forever, and I finally got him interested in the game. So he bowls on a different team on Thursday night, and we have a lot of fun. And he's bowled a few tournaments and made a lot of money because his jumped in average. He went 140, 170, he's in the 180s now. So that big jump got him the benefit, the cushion. But he doesn't understand a lot of the concept, but he knows where to stand and where to throw it. So if I can help him by saying, here's a 10 pin that you left because the bonus burnt up, throw the Pearl in the same spot.
Yep.
Let's make the right moves. So, and that's all we try to do at Radical is build arsenals. Like I said earlier, we don't have a factory. So I'm not sitting there going, oh my God, I have to build 50,000 balls extra because I got to feed the factory. I don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We only build them when we have knowledge and new technology. That's when the new balls come out.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and I think it goes along with the lines of your previous companies, like you talked about. They've always been kind of like the techie,
Absolutely.
kind of brand and kind of educated. And not that we're just going after the competitive bowlers, right? Radicals for everyone, okay? It can fit the bill for everyone. But there's a lot of technology that goes in it to, again, not feel rushed to the market, really making sure that we're filling holes. And I'm grateful, on board with the 7 brands now that I get to throw these balls.
Sure.
It's a lot of these are in my bag, and 2 of your national staffers are 2 of my closest friends, so it's pretty awesome.
And Fury.
Yeah, I have to. I guess maybe I'll say it's Andrew Anderson instead and leave Joey out. I'm just roasting him because I know he's on here right now. So, I think it shows the versatility too with the Radical balls because, for instance, your 3 players right there. Anderson get on it. Fury, little slower hand, but has a lot of axis rotation retention, and then you have Joey, who's more of a traditional player that likes to keep his angles shut down a little bit. Right. And you look at all 3 players throwing these bowling balls and throwing the arsenal, and it's an instant success. So it's great to see the versatility across the brand.
And it's funny when you mentioned the staffers. Tom Smallwood left us a while back. And they asked me what I was thinking, and I said Andrew Anderson because he's coming off. He was Player of the Year. He had a couple of injuries. He's going to get back in the game, but he's a technical guy.
Yep,
he's very technical, and the advantage of Radical is the availability of knowledge. Mo's available to help. If you go on our fan group, it's probably one of the best ones, if not the best one in the industry as far as knowledge, because of our supporters. The pro shop guys are on there answering questions instantly. So you got the average bowler wants to buy a ball, has a question. Literally, when they post it, before Mo can even get to it, someone's already helped answer it. Yeah. And then Mo will agree or disagree down the road. But when we added Andrew, it was a perfect match for us because of his technology. Young kid, gets on it, tour player, got it. Okay, so then they said to me, well, what else are you thinking? And I said, Joey Pants, and John. And they said, well, why? And I said, well, think about it. I have Andrew, techie, rip-on-it ball type guy. I have 2 guys that run pro shops that are good players. They are great players. And they have 2 unique styles, different from what people see from every other brand in the world. Think about it. When you watch other companies do ball tests or do videos with some of their staffers, they're all stand left or right. As hard as they can. Just chew on it. Okay, we got that. Yep. But they don't have a traditional guy like Joey playing up the boards, soft hand at the bottom, getting on it a little bit, clean. Right, great. And then you got John, who's a little bit between the 2 of them.
Yep.
And they're pro shop guys. They don't row bowl on tour for a living. They work their jobs, and then they bowl regionals, and then they bowl national stops when they have to. But they have a wealth of knowledge for the average person, and that's who we want the customer to come on board and say, I need information. How do I get it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a strategy, method to the madness, so to speak.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, we love it. I mean, obviously I get to bowl with these guys all the time. They're my roommates. So, it's fun to see them getting this opportunity too, to represent, what we all see is a good marriage there, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. So the other portion of it, talking about, the bonus pearl and things along those lines. Well, the opposite end of the spectrum on this new release coming up here is obviously the results plus, right? So real quick to go down there, same core that's in there. TP1 plus is the pearl cover. What is it? 2517, I believe, 44027. So a huge intermediate diff on this ball.
Correct.
Talk to me a little bit about it, Phil.
Well, let's go back to the USBC. They decide no balance holes. Well, I'm a bowler's guy. I bowl my whole life. Still bowl. But think about this. We lower that. We got on. So you start looking at who got affected by that. And I don't know your game at all. But are you a kind of guy that throws a rhino or a twist?
I mean, yeah, maybe in league.
Yeah, but my point, in league,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Have you ever drilled a rhino and put a hole in it?
No.
No. So the guy that needs the ball with the hole in it is the guy that stands 15 boards right of you and pushes it up 10. And the hole helped him get the 10 out.
Yep.
2 10-pins a game. He tripped because of that. The ball helped him carry twice. You had zero impact by not having to take a hole out of a ball. You never used it.
Right.
Okay, zero impact. The guy that got hurt by this rule was the average league bowler who bought balls that helped him to strike a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I disagree with it, obviously, but I'm not going to tell them they're the governing body. It's their rule. That's fine. My job now is to find a way around the rule. Mm-hmm. And when I went back and started doing some studies and testing and looking at all of the information, the purpose of, and we did really well with this, I'll touch on it for a second. We built cores when we first started Radical that were huge cores that had to have balance holes, that were beneficial to put balance holes in them to tweak the ball motion. Mm-hmm. You go back to the days of the Guru, the Reacts. Okay, people always ask, why don't you bring those cores back? They're not going to work now because you can't put a hole in them. They'll be great for that one drill pattern, but the variety of drill patterns we offered years ago with holes made those balls better than anything else. That's why Radical is where it is. Okay, it's pretty simple logic. So USBC says, nah, you know what? Now, guys, you can't put a hole in it. Go back and look at the reason you put a hole in it. You put a hole in it to blow up the diffs, period. You want to make the ball flare on a different spot, more flare, less flare, whatever you want to do, you want to blow up the diffs. Okay, and the intermediate diff is the one you're really trying to blow up. Okay, that was great. Okay, so every company that ever tried this before, it failed. They tried to make a big intermediate diff, and the ball rolled end over end. We know that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we treaded on this lightly, and we figured out that we had to have at least 50% of the intermediate diff of the total diff. You can't have a 50 total diff and a 27 intermediate diff. The ball's going to roll forward. Because when you drill a hole in the ball, you blow up both diffs. So what we did was we designed the core that had an 044 total diff, but an 027 intermediate. When you drill into it, when you blow up the diffs, you don't blow up it excessively. It's still 50% of the total diff. Therefore, the ball will not roll forward. It'll still continue down lane. That was the premise behind the results. The original results was probably one of the best balls we've ever built, but the little COVID problem that we had really put the brakes on it.
Yeah.
And it hurt. I mean, that ball is great. It's still great. People that buy them. There's people down here that bought a case of them. They liked them so much in fear of, the ball going discontinued. So we built the results, and then we built the results solid because we needed something in the line with big hook. Mm-hmm. And that has very strong cover stock. Okay. So we had the TP solid.
Yes.
Textured Pro solid. A textured solid. TS solid. TS1. But during that time of the results solid, and now we found, and I love to tweak with cover stocks. The Incognito has a new cover stock called Sharp. Okay, it's an acronym. I won't go into it now. But the point of the matter is we learn every day about covers. So I found an additive that gives the ball more area. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I watched the average bowler ball. With the results, if he tugged it a little bit, maybe not. If he swung it, might overreact a little bit. I wanted to create a sweeter spot on the lane for them. So we put an additive into the result plus cover that gives them a little more tug and a little more swing. So I'm trying to create as much of that area as possible. So the TP1 plus cover has an additive in it.
And that's in the base, correct?
That's in the base. The TP, the textured pearl, is identical.
Yep.
Ratio is identical. It's simply the base carrier resin that we tweaked up a little bit. You get about 3 more boards of hook, but it'll read the lane a little differently. It's as continuous as the original, but it's not as violent, maybe off the spot. So it doesn't, you want to keep the hook window long enough so that the guy that misses right didn't realize when it hooked, the window was so short, the pins were too far away. Mm-hmm. By the time it got there, it was done, right? So we wanted to create a longer hook window and create a little more area.
Right, and it just changes the footprint. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to build the perfect ball. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I mean, after 32 years, I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'm on a quest for the fountain of youth. I don't know what we're looking for, but the goal is the perfect ball.
When you come out with the perfect ball that gets every 10 and every cent out, Phil, you no longer have a job. So yeah, I would, I don't think you want to get to that pinnacle, but if you do, it would be a hell of a story. But
yeah, I agree with
you. It's pretty awesome. When you're talking about, again, go back and you're building cores and you're building balls because of today's environment, today's rules. The days of putting a hole, and double thumbing it and blowing up the intermediate diff and your overall diff, they're gone. So you have to, you're adapting for the everyday player, for the competitive player. From top to bottom, go through the radical line. You're going to have a ball in there. It's going to be for you. And, Phil mentioned, the chats and things that are available out there. By all means, go in there, check out those chats. Right. They're a wealth of knowledge. Your pro shop operator in your area, if he has questions, that's a place he's going to go to find out. It's just it's a really good forum that allows for, discussion, education, and really understanding for you, the consumer, that you're going to get the right ball for you, because we're all different.
It's funny. I've been doing this, like I said, 32 years. When I started track, it was the same premise. I wanted to build the perfect ball, but I wanted it to be technically sound where people that wanted to learn about it could, and people that didn't care about it didn't have to worry about it. And we come pretty close one year with the heat. The PBA had changed the way they were going to oil the lanes. They told us the pattern and said the entire fall was going to have the same pattern. I was in the process of building the heat. So I made some changes to the cover stock, and we won every event but the first one in the fall. And the only time it lost on TV was to another heat. So I got close to build a perfect ball. I mean, that was our goal. But again, it was based on, it's not magic. It's based on scientific data that you gather, make some adjustments, and let's build a ball that's a little bit better than the last one. And there's always a cause to it. We can't build the guru cores anymore. We can't build the React cores anymore simply because of the rule. No more holes. So let's build a hole in the ball for you. And our drill sheet has 6 or 7 drill patterns. So there's really not much that you need to know other than that. Open a box up and say, I want this ball to be smooth. Okay, here we go. Here's I want this one to be flippy. Here's a flippy one. I want a versatile one. Here's a versatile one. That's all we try to do when we try to build these bowling balls.
And let me tell you, as a pro shop operator and a bowler, it has changed even the way we do business as well, because from a technical aspect, we're constantly evolving and understanding what's best for the player too. In the past, when we were using holes, you had to have a pretty good pro shop operator to understand exactly what they're doing, what the impact is.
Right
now, we're changing gears, and it's not like it's dumbing down what we do, but again, it's ball selection more than anything. Sure. It's understanding what's going to roll good for that player. If they're, low tilt, high axis rotation, it matters. It's all in the numbers.
Right. And it's funny for pro shop guys, it's tougher. You got one shot now. Okay. Before you drill the ball and we could put a hole in it. The guy goes, I want that to roll a little sooner. Let me whack a hole near the axis. Or if I want it to flip harder, I move the hole down into the thumb positive quadrant, I don't know what they even call it nowadays, but you know what I'm talking about. Move the hole down, move the hole up. Now you got one shot. The guy comes in and says, I need help. Here's what I do. You watch him bowl a little bit if you can. And then you got to pick a ball and a drill pattern. The only hope you have after that is surface.
Yep.
How much can you tweak it, and so on. But
and you're really there. You're not changing ball motion as much as you are changing front to back.
That's all you're doing.
There's a difference between lane play and ball motion.
I agree.
2 completely different things. I
agree with you. And that's why we try to just build balls that give you the best opportunity to strike. And again, I have no qualms with the guy that uses a rhino, stands left, throws it right. But USBC, they took some of the game out of the average player's hand. And now, as a company, Radical is going to be the company. We call it the Radical Revolution. We need to be able to give you guys bowling balls that can make up for that rule change. And
absolutely.
The result plus is the ball, obviously. For us, it's what we're trying to create. We know how we got there before. Let's give it to you a different way. You don't need the extra hole. We put it in there already.
Yeah, it's built in. It's in the box.
It's in the box, exactly. Yeah. So,
but at the end of the day, too, like you're saying, they build it in with the. That's not to say that the advanced players, by all means, we're going to get some play time out of these as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
We in a different, maybe in a different, depending on what the pattern is. Obviously, getting into this big of a ball,
yeah.
But not to say that this ball for somebody that stands left and throws it right can't throw it in league, because again,
Absolutely.
it really comes down to making sure you pick a proper layout if that's the environment you're going to bowl in.
Sure.
Because I'm going to tell you one thing: you have asymmetry in the core and things like that. You got a lot of hitting power there. These balls both have dynamic core in them, which I think is awesome. That's that's in a lot of the radical releases that are in here, because it's distinctly different. It really is.
Sure. The coefficient of restitution. When I started track and we got into that, we actually violated the rule a couple of times. Coefficient of restitution without the outer core. And when we first started using the outer core. So getting with Brunswick and understanding the concept and making the densities correct so that the coefficient of restitution went higher is fantastic. It's more hit. Period. There's more off hits. Getting back to the big balls and the staffs. Amuletto loves the results. He called me a couple of times, talked about it. I know Barrett loved it. If you take a look at the Zing line, Maldonado throws the Zing hybrid. I love it. Yeah, Andrew throws the Zing hybrid a lot. Mm-hmm. So, just picking two cores, the last two recent cores we had, the Zing and the result of Zing and the original results, it fits their game, but has to fit the way the patterns are. And again, it's just based on what the PBA puts out. But this adds a new dimension for them. Mm-hmm. I don't have they love. Don't get me wrong. There's 7 brands. They can pick whatever they want. It's a bit overwhelming. I'm the wrong guy for that. I'd rather bring a 2-ball bag to league, and one of them's a spare ball. So
I bring 3.
Yeah, well, one of them's a spare ball simply because it's league. But when you face the conditions of the tour, what I hated about the tour is that the pattern was put out and everybody played the pattern the same way. You had to. It didn't allow for any versatility. So everybody's playing wherever to wherever. You have to be able to adjust your ball motion to strike on that, or else you're not going to be competitive. It's not like years ago where they put a pattern out and you can play different angles. Mm-hmm. It's whatever's that. They put it out 41 feet. The world has got the ball hooking from 13. Period. How they get to 13 depends on what they put in the front.
Correct. We talked about the difference between league and in that environment. Like, for instance, a lot of us are going to the Players Championship. We'll see some different things. But the way I explain it to people at league is, the difference between the two is, in league, when I miss left, my ball hooks. In league, when I miss right, my ball hooks. It's just the way that the oil is applied, and the choices we make through the line from top to bottom are going to be different based on what the environment is.
Exactly.
Again, it goes back to it. Time to place for every single ball. There's not a right or wrong ball for each person. There's just a time when it makes more sense to use it.
Yeah, the downside, and I have guys here that I work with, really good bowlers, especially the guys that do our ball testing. They get overwhelmed because they have all the balls. Mm-hmm. And now it becomes part of the game is not just physical, it's mental. When do I use it and where? Oh, I have 8 choices. Well, you know what? You have 8 choices because you brought 8 balls in. Now you confuse yourself. So you have to learn what each ball does. It has its purpose. Mm-hmm. So
it does. And to go along with that, and if John or Joe were on the feed right now and Joe's on, Joe would back it up. I'm like you're saying, like, even when I go to an event and I know what the pattern is, okay, I have a multitude of bowling balls at my disposal. Okay. Sure. I do a lot of the testing for all 7 brands, or 6, whatever. I'm not taking that many bowling balls with me, because once there becomes too much variety, a player can get to the point where they're searching for perfect ball reaction.
Right.
And perfect isn't always the answer.
Right.
For me, it's better to condense, understand exactly what bowling balls I have with me.
Yeah.
Know what my progressions are going to be, and limit the amount that I have in there, because then it puts more back on me being a shot maker
and making shots and running down spares.
I don't want to juggle, I have 22 balls in the building. That's great. One, I'm getting older and I don't feel like pulling them in anyway. And two, I don't want to go and be the guy that we see so often that's standing over top of their bags, and you can see them looking at everything in there, and they're not making the right decision because they don't really know what's on the ground and the arsenal in front of them, or
where it fits, and put in confusion with the pattern.
Yep,
it's like a train wreck.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying less is always more, but man, it makes your choices more sound and puts more of a premium on you being a shot maker. And that's what I love to see out of players. And for my time spent on tours, the ball rep and things like that, it's one of the resonating things I talked about all the time was really understanding each player as you're trying to help them too. What's in their bag? I want to know their layouts, and try not to muddy the water because, if we're going to drill a ball, let's say we had to go into the truck and drill a new radical ball for motion we're looking for. It's a lot easier to go in there and go, yep, this is what we need. This is where your hole is. Yeah.
It's funny when we put a line together, and I always tell people, because I get one of my biggest asked questions for the year is, what do I need? And it's hard to answer somebody that, but I explain to them that we have categories in our line. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, we have the counterattack. Then we have either the bonus or the intel is in that second spot. Then it was the closer, pandemonium, squatch, third spot. And fourth spot is high-end power asymmetricals. And I always tell them, take one from each. Mm-hmm. 4 balls, drill them all the same.
Yep.
Pin to pap, all the same. Your angle, your first angle, second angle, drill them all the same. And now you have 4-ball arsenal done. There's no guesswork. We built.
You already did the homework.
We did the homework for you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you play golf. You don't have 7 irons. You have right. So we built you a golf bag, and that's what we try to do now. Our job is to come up with technology that improves each level for you, and that's our job. Just buy in, join the club, get in there, and those are the 4 balls you need. One from each category. It's very simple. And I try to explain that to people, and they say, well, yeah, but how should I drill it? What should I do? Well, we'll figure out your drill pattern. Go on the FAM group and ask people what your best pattern is based on your specs. Yeah, you got to do a little work. PAP, rev rate, ball speed, tilt. Once you put that in there, Mo will tell you what your best drill pattern is. Just put it in 4 different balls. Yep. And then have a Scotch-Brite pad or whatever.
Whatever we're using at the time.
Yeah, my Scotch-Brite pad is in my towel. It's amazing how it stays in that towel.
And but, you only hit the back flare ring too. So other than that, it's all legal.
That's all right, it's all legal. But you have to be more adaptable, but yet not confuse yourself. Yeah, and that's what Radical tries to do for the bowler.
Yeah, and again, I'm not greasing anybody's gear here, but I think it's for what you guys are offering from top to bottom.
Yeah,
it makes even more sense, especially from being a technical company. Allow Radical to distinguish your progressions, basically. Right. Go along the same lines of aesthetically what matches up to your eye. We talk about this on the program so much here.
Right.
And I'm very adamant about it. I use for myself and for clients, we'll use a lot of, once we get a layout we know is really tuned into them, we use that layout a lot. We'll adjust it with surface prep. Yeah. If we want to make it flare a little more, we may adjust maybe the pin to pap a little bit for them. But as far as the front and back angles,
right.
Once you get that kind of that matched, whether it's Mo or you and him working together over the years and basically coming up with that, the matching up for the player based on speed and rev rate. Once you have that in there, we're not changing those front and back angles at league. We're not changing them for the Pro Tour. No. We're playing around with pins and paps to control flare potential. Right.
And, and Jeff, the funny part about it, I made a comment. We did our own Facebook Live last week or so. I made a comment and then finally like light bulbs went off at some of the customers and people on the thing. If you don't match up, you can't win.
Correct.
You can't bowl good. You have to match up because the guy that's not as good as you that matches up is 30 pins better than you that day. A game. You're shooting 210, he's shooting 240, and his 240s don't go away because he matches up, and your 2 teens don't get any better because you don't match up. So you have to have versatility in the line. If you have a 4-ball bag, like I mentioned, you're going to figure out a way to get closer to the matchup rather than have 5 balls that do the same thing. You're just done. Yep. And each game puts you further away. Mathematically, you become eliminated by the 8th frame of the 3rd game you are now mathematically eliminated from making the cut because he's on a 240 pace and you're shooting 2-1.
Right.
And you're 100 pins behind, and he's still going to shoot 240, and your 300 only picks up 60 of them.
And the only way you have a chance of beating him is if you're in one of those formats that week that allows it to happen. If it's not total pins,
that's exactly right.
When you're in that format that week, that's the only time you like it. You don't like it when you're the guy that's leading.
No, I agree. Yeah. So we try to help people understand it. And it's a slow process because the generation right now is, well, I didn't strike. Let me change balls. But the ball you changed to didn't strike either. Now what do you do? You know, if nobody moves their feet, nobody changes their hands position, nobody looks forward, looks back, moves their eyes in, moves their eyes out. Nobody does that anymore. Right now they go to the bag.
Yeah,
absolutely. And if the bag is not right, you're done.
You know, I'm still kind of old school. You know, I will try to get to the end of a game and try to get a fill shot, especially if I have something that's close. Make an educated decision of what's going off of that. But it really depends too. And you know as well as I do, Phil, it depends the surface prep of that ball you're going to too. Absolutely. You know, if I start with charcoal and my next progression is not charcoal in the bag,
right.
You know, it's going to completely change. Hey, maybe we get lucky and it goes through the pins perfectly. But
I agree.
It's you know. You got to think a little bit about it, and I think that's why I love the technical side of it. I love talking bowling. I mean,
I'm the same.
Blue in the face,
right? But we just constantly answer the questions, and we learn from the questions that we get from our people from the fan group, because you start seeing the same question come in over and over again, maybe asked a little differently, and then you say, well, that's what they're looking for. You know, let's try to help. You know, and again, that's why we build 4 categories at the Radical brand. We want to give you one in each category. If you take one in each category, drill them the same, you have a great starting point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, from a learning perspective for everybody out there, you know, what Phil's pertaining to there, it's about being a good teacher. Okay. A teacher's going to adapt to the questions you ask or how you learn. Right. So when you ask questions, we adapt and try to give you the answer in the best way possible to help you understand it the way that we intend it to be understood as well. You know.
So you get questions when we do these things, people write in questions?
Or they do sometimes, so there may be some comments. A lot more of it is just like awesome information, but let me scroll to the top. If it's in the evening, I mean, you've had a ton of people on, you know, in and out of here for this time of day. It's pretty, I think people that work from home now have an opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny. We had 320 people on our Facebook live feed at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, and I told you know, don't you people have jobs? Go to work. What are you sitting here looking at me for?
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, for me right now, and you know, I'm Pennsylvania. Our bowling alleys are shut down right now for the second time. You know, it's unfortunate. Some of us have our shops open, but you know, it's a tough time. Yeah, hoping, you know, our tentative date around here is January 4th. I don't foresee that happening.
Wow.
And if it does, I'm afraid it's going to be something similar to Michigan, where they say, okay, well, open play is fine, but no leagues.
Yeah. You know, it's funny when I talked to Brian Graham yesterday, and, you know, the consensus about conversation is the government is just picking winners and losers. They're picking them.
Yeah.
You know, why can you have the bowling center open and no leagues? They don't know anything about the inner workings of a bowling business or what goes on during league. They just pick, you know, how can Lowe's and Home Depot be open, but the paint store on the corner has to close? Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they don't get it. And I understand it's a tough time. It's panic time.
And I think right now, unfortunately, I think this is where bowling gets a sore eye when it comes to thinking of the old days where it's just beer leagues, you know, out of shape guys that are just house and alcohol the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how they view it, going, okay, we can't bowl because these league guys, they just come in here to drink, and drinking is what spreads this, because that's a bar.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not saying, you know, even myself, you know, I'll have a couple beers while I'm not getting drunk while I'm bowling, but
the perception, it's their perception of, hey, that's a, I don't know. I don't want to say a poor man's game, but the camaraderie, the way it is anti-pandemic. I don't know, but yet, you know, I bowled 2 leagues, and tonight's one of them, and it's amazing. San Antonio now. Listen to this. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. 2 bowling centers in San Antonio. The one tonight, you sit down at the table, you take your mask off, if you want.
Yeah.
When you get up and walk to the approach, you have to have your mask on. If you're on the approach, you can take it off. So it's a mask. I don't know what you want to call it. Musical chairs with your mask. It's fine.
Yes.
But that's the rule.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is, and outside of bowling now, I'm not anymore,
Yeah.
but I've been a health and safety professional my whole life.
Right.
And the crazy thing is when they allow stuff like that is now you're touching your face even more.
Absolutely.
And you're coming into contact and your fans are blown and everything else. It's crazy. I mean, and it depends what bowling center you go into. We bowled an event this past weekend in Maryland, and they're masks on the whole time. You're not even supposed to pull them down when you throw a shot, which is it's tough. But I mean, we do it because we love bowling.
Right.
Pennsylvania, depending on where you went when they were open, you'd have to have them on when you're walking in the settee area. But as soon as you're down with everybody else, sitting with those same people, you could just take them off.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
I understand. But, we're in San Antonio. This is one bowling center tonight. Thursday night, same city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They come in Thursday night. I don't know who they are, but they had badges. And said, you have to have your mask on all the time. You can't take it off at all. At the table, on the approach. They fine the bowling center $1,000 fine. Okay, same city. Okay, and here's the last one. The ball is on the rack, can't touch.
Okay.
You had to make that up. You had to just make that up. That can't be a rule anywhere. You made that up. Mm-hmm. Oh, because you touch the ball, and then that ball touches that ball, and that germ jumps onto the other guy's ball who now touches. So now you have the same city, two leagues that everybody bowls in. They're both classic leagues with two sets of rules. Yeah. So the guy understood the balls have to touch. I'm sorry. They're not little egg crates you put them in. But the point is, how on earth can you govern it if the same city can't have the same rules in all the bowling centers?
Right.
Every person on Thursday night has to keep their mask on all the time. But on Tuesday night, we can take it off and put it back on.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It's crazy. And, the type of mask and, again, we're talking bowling, but it's the same thing. I mean, these cloth masks, they're just germs and single-use masks being used 150 times over.
Right, exactly.
Trust me, they're not helping you.
No.
They are making some individuals in actually making it worse for them.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest with you, Phil. I mean, a couple weeks ago, Carrie and myself were both home. We both had COVID. She works in a dental office. She had a low-grade fever.
Right.
So I quarantined with her to try to do the right thing.
Yep.
I wasn't sick.
Right.
She got her positive test. I called my doctor. They said, yep, we got a test. She tested me. I came back positive. I wasn't sick.
Right.
But the way it hits everybody is different. I know individuals that are, my age. I'm 42 now, but, my age that are fighting for their life over it. I mean, it's just it's so many uncertainties. But
absolutely.
I flashed Joey's thing up there. He's right, though. Bowling centers now are cleaner than ever. They are. I mean, they're sanitized. We're doing more now than we ever did.
Right.
And when you think about allowing, like, for instance, Michigan, they're going to allow open play, but not league bowlers. Well, league bowlers have their own ball. Okay.
Who's more regimented, a league bowler or an open play? You tell a league bowler, here are the rules for us to bowl league, and they follow them.
The open bowlers are going to be the ones who are sharing bowling balls, even if you disinfect it. They're wearing shoes that have been worn 7,000 times.
That's exactly
before they fell apart.
Right.
And the other one is you got to be from the same household.
No, they're not.
Okay, yeah, I can come. Yeah, we all live together. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, and they have 6 on a lane or 10 or whatever on the pair. I understand, but the persons that could probably manage it better are league bowlers. You tell them the rules, and you have to enforce it. The center has to enforce it. Don't get me wrong. But open play, no tournaments. I can see no tournaments because you're bringing people in from everywhere, and there's no. I got that part.
Yeah.
But as far as league goes, I mean, that's the bread and butter of a lot of the businesses to stay alive right now.
It absolutely is. Heck, we bowled a tournament. Yeah, we bowled a tournament in Delaware the other week, and out of the blue, they had this new rule where they weren't allowed in the tournament. You weren't allowed to move lanes. So we ended a 5-game block, and we had. And this is where it can hurt you because we had a 5-game block, and the individuals on my pair are good players. And Joey was on my pair, Carrie was on my pair. We had good players, and the pattern wasn't hard. All right, and we're all pretty darn accurate.
Yeah.
Well, we beat the death out of that pattern, and and it got to the point where it made our pattern hard.
Right.
And they said, well, you can't move because if you moved, we'd have to disinfect every time you moved. I said, all right, whatever. Okay, if that's the rule. So I watched, and then after the cut happens, Nobody comes down and disinfects.
Right.
People who need to cut or move to different lanes with different people, never disinfected. And I just went,
unbelievable.
All right. I mean, whatever. And I try my best, in this industry and stuff, not to, come down on people who are trying to run tournaments and doing that other stuff. We're all in it together.
Right.
But there's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel here for some of the lunacy that we have to deal with in this sport.
I agree.
I'm glad to see that the PBA is moving forward. The PWBA is moving forward with their events in January.
Right.
Different approach. I mean, the PWBA is very regimented for what they're going to be doing.
Right.
In Texas, they're coming down to the ITRC in that area.
Right.
And then, the PBA went a little different and kind of branched out into 6 locations. And the here in the East, ours in the Richmond area sold out in less than 4 hours. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that where you are? You're in Richmond?
I'm in Pennsylvania, but like the way they did it, like the jurisdictions, like there was a lot of states lumped in what they consider the East. I mean, Canada, anywhere from starting in Canada, coming down, even some I think in Ohio are coming down to Richmond. It's kind of weird where they drew the lines because like ours sold out in, a matter of hours, but then you look at the other 5 pods across the state and they all have spots left.
Yeah.
So
think about Texas. Where would that? Look how big that is. In our state, you could drive 10 hours and still be in the state.
Yeah, it's that way. And even with the regional level, man, I feel bad for some of them guys in the West too, where you have to take a plane to get to a regional. I mean, the money in the regionals isn't that good to begin with. So
I think Denver. I think Denver's in this region. So I mean, it's crazy. But you know what? You do what you have to do. And again, it's manageable. It's not the way we want it. Mm-hmm. It's terrible for the industry. I mean, it's funny because as a manufacturer, we're suffering just like the pro shop guys are suffering, like the distributors are suffering. But it all rolls back on us going, what are you guys going to do to help? And what can we do? You can't sell balls to people that aren't bowling.
Yep.
Nobody buys balls if you're not bowling.
Nope.
When they open up, we see spikes. And that's okay.
And we'll do what we can do till then. And, hopefully this is – with the vaccinations and everything that are coming, and whether you're a person that supports them or doesn't, they got to help to an extent. Okay. I'm shocked that there's no flu anymore. They haven't given out Tamiflu all year in any state across the United States. But other than that, nothing wrong with it.
My brother lives in New York. And when it first started, he said to me, it's amazing how COVID prevented heart attacks. What are you talking about? He said there's normally, and he gave me some statistic, and I don't remember the exact number, but I'll use a number. There's 300 heart attacks a day that people die from in Long Island, for instance. Yeah. He said when COVID came out in March, there were none. Everything was COVID related.
Yep. I know 13,000 reasons of why it's coded that way. That's what the hospitals get for a COVID death. So.
And I was going to say, that's exactly right. Yeah, they got, the COVID. So, I don't know. You know what? It's.
But, again, like you said, we could go down the rabbit hole all day, but at the end of the day, we're going to do what it takes, from a pro shop level, from a manufacturing level, from, research and development on your end. I mean, I just think it's amazing what we are offering now, what is coming out in the, in the future and where we stand. We're just going to do what it takes until hopefully we see some, normalcy back in our game.
And the funny thing is, we don't want to stop our technology.
No.
And you launch a ball that would have sold 2 years ago like crazy or last year like crazy, and you're not going to sell a lot of them because people aren't bowling. But 3 weeks later, you're improving on technology. You got to launch the ball. You got to pull the trigger.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in fire the silver bullet when you got it. I don't hold anything back.
Yeah.
A lot of companies, they try to hold technology and say, "Oh, this is a good time for it." There's no good time. I just launch it.
All right.
We're trying to get smarter. So.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Phil, believe it or not, we're at almost the 50-minute mark at talking. Yeah. So you got 2 guys in here that love to talk. Not a ton of. I went up and down the comments. Not really a lot of questions other than just this is awesome. Looking forward to these. Blah blah blah. But I guess my ending comment here is first and foremost, thanks for everything you do in the industry and coming on here and chatting with me today. Right. And by all means, to anybody else out there, please go and support bowling. We need you now more than ever. Yeah.
And then again, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier. If you have questions about bowling, go on the Radical Fan, join the Radical Fan group. There's people on there that are smart. They'll help you right away.
Give me one.
I'm sorry. I lost them. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We just try to educate as much as we can. Go on that fan page. If you want to get in touch with Mo has his own little cartoon page. It's Radical MOP, Radical MOP. You can go on there and ask Mo some questions. I have one as well, and it's Radical Phil C. So you got 3 places for information, plus the Radical Facebook page. So, do all you can. Try to come back and help. We'll help you if we can. So I lost you. Now I can't hear you.
I did unmute. Sorry, my FedEx guy was pounding on the door.
Okay. He brought your bowling balls, didn't he?
He did actually. So I have an agreement with. See, where my center is.
Yeah.
It's in kind of a business park building.
Uh-huh.
So sorry, I'm out of breath running out to the garage. So there's an inside door to get into where I'm at.
Right.
So I don't have my deliveries taken over there because if the front door is locked, he can't get there.
Can't get in. Right.
But he doesn't like to deliver to my front door, which is over here, because he's got to walk all around. So we have this agreement when he's here, he knocks on the back door. I go leave the garage door open. He'll put him in the inside. He's a good guy.
Yeah, it's really good. That's good. Yeah, I just gave the guys a bunch of the group information on the Facebook page. Mo's cartoon page. You can ask questions, mine, and then you got to join the Radical fan group, and a wealth of information. So,
absolutely,
thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed the talk, and we'll definitely make sure we have you on again. And once we have some other releases, and similar to what Phil's saying, we're always doing these informational sessions. If you go on to our Facebook page, some of you are visit on now for Pure Bowling. You can visit YouTube. These are all broadcast on there live and then they're archived. So anything you want to know about bowling balls, we do a lot of these talk about it Tuesdays, usually on Thursdays. Now this week being Christmas will be a little different. We actually end up throwing the ball we talked about on a Tuesday, with some different styles and stuff. So it's kind of a unique setting. So tune in. If there's anything you ever want us to review, something you're interested in, further questions, reach out to any one of us that are on the feed. And again, support bowling, support your local proprietors, buy Radical bowling balls. I guarantee you won't be disappointed.
We'll do everything.
Everybody out there, we want to wish you the merriest of Christmas out there. Yep. And we will definitely be on next week. So I won't say Happy New Year. So we'll definitely we'll end it with a happy Merry Christmas.
Jeff, thanks, and happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.